So, what do social media pranksters getting shot and Doja Cat and Katy Perry's depression have in common? Let's talk about that as we watch your culture stray further every day. Howdy, Jonathan Fiala for Further Every Day, sitting here in the chair of philosophy, theology, philosophy, and also host for today. I'm joined by Miss Nikki on my right in the chair of theology. How are you this morning?
I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing all right, and it is afternoon, and I am tired. That's what happens when you work
I'll tell you what,
70 hours in a week.
Yeah.
So anyway, dealing with the reason why we believe what we believe. And to my left, from the chair of philosophy, sitting over to my left in the chair of culture is Mr. Charlie.
We are glad to be back.
How are you?
I'm doing fine.
You feeling better?
We are feeling a little bit better. I hope this kind of a raspy voice doesn't bother people today. But
no, it's a good radio sounding voice.
Yeah. There's some voices on TV and radio that are just killer.
Yeah, I would do my Alex Jones impression, but let's move on. Moving on to the left, we've got Steve Johnson. How's it going?
Hey, man.
He's doing the robot. For those of you who are on audio, I'm not sure why.
I missed your hat, by the way.
He's got his hat.
I thought I'd work the shine again today.
Okay.
Since, I kind of saw last week's, and I thought, hey,
we needed.
I do. Since I figured Charlie was going to probably be on here, and I figured since it's not National Bald Guys Day, I figured we'd do a
little shine
local
together.
Bald Guys Day.
Okay.
Well,
I like it.
So
with them, we actually just needed
just
a different
two guys.
lighting bounce. So we brought in the bounce for the light to come over here. Mr. Steve is sitting in the chair of politics, dealing with the Christians' involvement in our governing.
But if there was a day that we really need to be thinking about Jerusalem, today is the day.
So for those of you who, this is going to be released on Wednesday, but this is being recorded on October 8th. So if you haven't heard by now, you are indeed living under a rock. Israel has declared war, and that is a whole,
boy, that's a podcast.
Don't make me switch the podcast after we build all of this. But thoughts and prayers are something, because I'm not over there fighting a war. Unlike the Ukraine, that's another podcast. But we need to be praying for the peace of Jerusalem. Yes. And that's something that's biblical.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
That's something that's biblical. People don't realize is that God actually has a special place in his heart for Jerusalem. And Christians that think that somehow they have supplanted the Hebrew people, you're wrong.
Newsflash.
You're wrong.
Right.
So, but all of that actually is very tangential, but it does connect in a way. Because the pursuit of happiness, does that lead to death, or does that lead to life? And I want to answer that question at the end. And I think in a way, Miss Nikki is actually going to cover that at the end, but I'm going to leave that for her. For right now, I want to get into the news. And so starting off on our first segment, Ryan, we've got a issue with pranksters doing social media pranks. Now, these things aren't new, but some of them have become more and more dangerous for the pranksters. So actually pause on that one. Go to the first video. We're going to skip on these. Yeah, so do that as a short. And let's go ahead and run that real quick for us. Go live.
YouTuber and TikToker Mizzy has been fined £365 and is banned from using social media after his latest prank video of him entering someone's house without permission led him to handing himself in for arrest. Today in court he was given a criminal behaviour order which bans him from doing that again. Also, he's banned from retail stores, schools and Westfield Stratford until 2025. If he breaches the order, he could go to prison.
Okay, so go ahead and just pull us to the next one. I want us to think about that one. That's not just a cry for help, but that's like more. Go ahead, Ryan. Go ahead.
Ain't no fucking joke. Don't fuck with me. You hear me? Don't fuck with me.
Rewind it to the beginning, and I want to see what the impetus for that. Pardon the language, but that is what's going on. Go ahead. So he's so pause it. For those of you who are on, thank you, Mr. Producer. For those of you who are on audio only, there's a gentleman in Home Depot. The first clip was pretty succinct with the audio. This one, there's a gentleman in Home Depot. He's minding his own business, and this kid has someone filming him, an accomplice, and he walks by with a PVC pipe and blows spittle into the guy's ear. Just some random dude is just shopping at Home Depot, and they're doing this for views, but there's even more reason to it. But it gets worse. So, Mr. Producer, pull up the news clip. It's a 3-minute news clip. I want to walk all the way through, and then I'm going to start with you, Miss Nikki, and we're going to work our way around. Go ahead. I want to react to this after we watch it. Go ahead.
Tonight, Fox 5 has obtained never-before-seen footage of a YouTube prank that ended with a shooting. A Loudoun County jury found Alan Coley not guilty of the most serious charge connected to the shooting at Dulles Town Center. David Kaplan's working this one tonight. You got your hands on the video. What happened here?
Yeah, Jim, Tanner Cook's YouTube page has nearly 56,000 followers. Most videos show Cook going to public places and doing some sort of prank that people typically have negative reactions to. We're going to walk you through this video without audio first, then we'll play the whole thing for you. On April 2nd at Dulles Town Center, Cook was being filmed as part of his YouTube page as he walked up to Kali, who was picking up a food delivery. On
the food
Cook's
court
phone,
at the mall.
he had an automated voice play a vulgar message that was repeated multiple times to Kali, who tells him to get away or he'll call the police, is what it appears to say in the video. Kali tries walking away. Cook appears to follow. Then the lone shot rings out. Here's the full video.
What?
Quit thinking about my twinkle.
What's that mean?
Quit thinking about my twinkle.
It's a homoerotic
Quit thinking about my
Get on my Facebook called House Hunter. Stop.
recording.
thinking about my twinkle.
Kali did have a concealed carry permit. Cook has recovered. Kali was found guilty of discharging a firearm in a public place. Again, not guilty on some of the wounding-related charges. His attorneys, Kali's, getting a hearing next month, arguing that the verdict should be thrown out on the discharge in public since it was self-defense. Today, the Loudoun County Commonwealth's attorney says the force used by Kali, they believe, did not match the threat he faced. Cook's father, Jeremy, agreed with that, but disagreed with some parts of how the Commonwealth's attorney prosecuted its case.
Where's the line where it became a life-threatening situation where he had to use deadly force? If you see that line that was crossed, then you can think like that. But if you watch the video, at no point do you go, oh, there's where it became a physical point where this guy had to defend himself. That never happened.
Speaking of fatherlessness, but not the podcast. Keep going.
Tonight to get their perspective. They told me this was a difficult case. One juror told me that he did believe that Cook was a threat, to Kali, specifically pointing to Cook's size relative to Kali and the fact that Cook wasn't speaking and kept following him, and that Cook had an expressionless face. The jury originally told the judge they were deadlocked. Then they came back with the verdict a short time later when they handed down that verdict yesterday. What was the jury thinking in the room? What changed their mind? I have the one juror's perspective. We'll have that at 6:30 as we continue our coverage. Jim?
So go ahead and pause that. Thank you, Mr. Producer. So I want to break this down into 3 or 4 compartments here. First off, just from a self-defense perspective, just yes or no, or guilty, not guilty, going around the room. And then I want to get why as we go around at the end. But guilty, not guilty of...
Not guilty.
Of what?
So the guy who shot, guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Okay, so we're actually all I thought we were going to have a disagreement on this one. So I want to get the short version because I don't want to get too far away from the point of this, but I want to get to the motives of the prankster. But why not guilty, if you can sum it up in a short thought?
He was the aggressor, and he was just about... He was thinking about, I got to get this on tape, and I am willing to verbally assault. And even though it was a phone, okay?
He touched him with it. He was like this.
I mean, he was trying to intimidate this person, and he was aggressive in my opinion.
So my perspective, 100% agree. My perspective is this: I just had a colleague who got kidnapped, in I'm not going to say the country. It's not America, and when you realize that you're in the real world, and when someone has come within your space, you have violated that space, and you continue told, I don't know you. I don't know if you're just a member of the Jackass crew. You know, that's a TV series for those of you who don't know. That is a TV show. I don't know if you're one of those people trying to get me on film, or if you're about to do something else. And by the way, a homoerotic, thing playing in my ear over and over again, that is verbal assault. Mr. Charlie.
He kept following, and here's the key that really turned it for me. He actually spoke words in English. He knew the language.
Yeah.
So to be very clear, this guy was making it clear, you need to leave me alone or I'm going to call the police. And the guy did keep following, and it was aggressive. Not guilty.
Yeah, I'd have a tendency to agree with Charlie. The guy was very aggressive at what he was doing. If you look, his body language was aggressive.
Yes.
The guy that was with him, his body language was aggressive. There were two people that were approaching him, and all you got to do is watch the news. There's too many people that are kidnapped here in this country for whatever reasons that are going on, and
forget the kidnapping,
one
just
slug
the
to the head.
Just when you've got two people like that are working the same area, that's an unknown. It's an unknown.
You just don't know what's going on. And like you said, he told the guy, look, I'm going to call the police if you don't get away from me. And he kept approaching him and kept doing what he was doing. And to me, that,
I'll bet he thinks twice about doing something like that again.
100%. So I perforated his liver, and so I forget is the last thing I want to do in this. I want to pivot over to the social media aspect of this. But I don't know if y'all remember. I can't find the name right now. Internet's not working well. There's a boxer who got slugged once back here, and he was paralyzed for the rest of his life. That's far, far from uncommon. Yeah. So. Okay, so now that we've laid that out of the way, everyone, we're all in agreement there. What do you suppose are some of the reasons why people do? So we had the first one is breaking and entering in people's houses. We have some kids who are harassing people out in public, and then we have others who are that is arguably battery. If someone sticks something in your phone and they're tapping you with their phone or getting in that space.
They're building their social media following is what it is. It's self-worship. Really, that's what it comes down to, is I have to have a following, so I have to do something more outrageous to get you to follow me. And, of course, that can turn into money later on. Because you get a following. So I'm going to do these shocking, outrageous things. I'm not going to consider other people's property, other people's personal space, so that I can get this on my social media account and I can get the following.
Someone else has become a
commodity
tool, a commodity. That's right. And Nikki's word there, the phrase that she used, I think is spot on. Excuse me. Spot on. When you talk about self-worship, that really is what it's come down to. And it just grieves me to see what people are stooping to grab attention.
Yeah, absolutely.
I saw and I will thoroughly agree with what Nikki and Charlie have both said about what these people are doing, and you constantly see this. I saw some people, and this occurs over in England. These two guys would just walk into people's homes, and now this is where people typically they don't lock their homes because the government
Nice
tells
neighborhood.
them, look, you don't have to worry. We've gotten all the guns off, blah, 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 and, it's against the law to have guns. It's against the law to carry and use knives, blah, blah, blah. Well, these two guys would just walk into people's homes and just walk around and start walking around. And there would be people like, who are you? What are you doing in my house? And it's like, man, dude, you do that here in America, somebody's going to shoot you and you're going to die.
Yeah. And not to get too far off track, but that's a whole nother podcast, but it's that whole thing of
same concept.
They're running on that value that they're stealing. They're taking someone's privacy, and there's a value in taking that, and people actually enjoy vicariously living through that experience. And you're getting to walk with someone and see what would happen if you messed around. So when I saw this story on Twitter, I saw one or two of those where people got beat down in the house, and the FAFO trend was running. If you know what that is, you know what it means, but it means mess around and find out. That's what you're being allowed in through their phone to see that. And it's worship of self. Miss Nikki really just nailed it earlier. It's worship of self.
And you're violating people. I mean, you are literally violating
their personal space.
But think
for
about
your own benefit.
But think about this for a moment, guys, from the Christian perspective, the biblical perspective. This is a tool of Satan to inhibit the potential of the word being spread. So, for instance, let's say that I'm engaging somebody at the food court in a conversation, and I want to take it spiritual, and they don't want any part of it. And I think as Christians, we need to be very careful here in this kind of a situation. I think I love the phrase that I've heard recently. Jesus was always the perfect gentleman. God's the perfect gentleman. And he's not going to force himself on you.
Right.
And I think it's important that we understand that we should engage people with the gospel.
I wasn't engaging, though.
No, and I'm not saying that.
I understand.
But what I am saying is that politically, what is going to happen with a situation like this will be turned on Christians.
It'll be restrictions of free speech.
There's a solid point there. I'm just recalling being at Sam's the other day, and a woman was selling, I can't remember what she was selling, but she was standing at a table, and she called out to me. Well, she was calling out to a lot of people, and some people were just ignoring and walking on. She wasn't following that person.
Right.
And even as Christians, we don't force a conversation if somebody doesn't want to talk to us. But I do understand the fear of that. Is this going to get out of control? It is getting out of control.
I was going to say, yes, it will.
Yeah. So there is concerns there.
So, Miss Nikki, I want to ask you real quick, what does the Bible say about the foolishness of youth?
Well, in Proverbs 22:15, foolishness is bound in the heart of a child, but the rod of correction shall drive it far from them. And what that's just talking about is every child is born to want what they want. Every child, one of the first words, mine, or no, is the first word of a child, and you have to give instruction. It's funny because I had my 3 grandsons the other day, and the youngest one was going, my turn, share, because he goes to daycare and he's being taught, you have to share this. You have to be considerate of the other person. And so we had to do that. Okay, he gets it for this long, and then the other person you're teaching a common respect. Mm-hmm. And when foolishness is bound in the heart of a child, you're instructing them the proper way to behave, and that also includes how to behave around other people. You know what, John Arthur, I find interesting about that clip that you showed is who is the one that should have been prosecuted there?
Absolutely, the social media prankster.
And listen, this is a flip. This is exactly what Satan wants. He wants right to be wrong, and he wants wrong to be right.
Yep.
He's flipped the script.
Making the victim
Yes.
the predator.
Yeah. And I say this for everybody that's listening. We're living in a culture, in a day and time, in which it's very hard to ascertain truth. How do I know who should have been quote unquote prosecuted there? Look, if you dig in the word, if you just read God's word and use some common sense after you're reading, it's not hard to figure out. It's not hard. And the one that did the shooting there should not have been prosecuted. It should have been the other guy.
Well, thankfully, I think justice actually did carry out. It's good that there was a day in court.
Yep.
And it was good. I'm happy with how things worked out. I think
could have been bad though.
It could have gotten bad. Thank God it didn't. I think people are getting really tired of it, and that's why I think the jury is.
Yes.
So we've already kind of discussed what I'd written down for thoughts for this chair is what are the purposes of both parties. And one is that the shooter was saying, I have no idea who you are, what's happening. I get the impression that the shooter is autistic, or at least has maybe is part of the spectrum.
Could be.
I got that impression that maybe he was overwhelmed by that, and he says, get away from me, get away from me.
He was overwhelmed.
It was something that was absolutely, he was concerned he was fearing for his safety. I absolutely believe it based on the tape, right? So we know his motivation, but the other motivation is obviously, I want to take advantage of you for clout, for money, and for my glory, for my following.
And I will say this, that the young man that was shot, I'm very glad that he is okay and was not killed. I would not want to see that.
He's lucky the guy has a bad shot.
Yeah.
Well, he shot him right in the liver. It was right here. So he pulled.
He
and
got
shot.
body mass.
So he did get center mass. It was a B-box shot.
Well.
And it was from the side too.
But take a look, step back, and take a look at where we're seeing this in our culture today. And it's not just in America. Who has the obsession with this? Dare I say it? Kim Kardashian. Guys, how many times do we turn around and look, you that are listening out there, you may not think this is a big deal. Maybe I just offended you. I want you to think about something for a moment, though. She is a person that totally understands how to market. She's not doing much different than what that guy did.
No, absolutely.
She's just doing it in social media that's right.
It's self-aggrandizement.
It really is. And every time that we click on one of those, guess what we just did? We reinforced it.
So I want to actually go to you real quick on that, because I want to keep us moving to the other point, because we're at the halfway point here. Once our culture has embraced this behavior, do you remember the behavioral sink theory?
I do not.
So it was an experiment, and we've talked about him before, but there's one doctor, professor, he did a whole study on this where he got a bunch of rats and he put them into an environment where it was a rat's heaven, a paradise. And so these mammals, once they got very comfortable, you saw behavioral patterns that very much ended up where we are today, where it went from, you had lots of kids, lots of babies, and after a while those babies became less and less likely to have more babies. And even though there was plenty of food, as the population density grew, couples were less likely to have more. Couples became more unfaithful. Then males attracted to males and females to females. These are with rats. And then eventually you would get packs, and packs of more violent ones, the ones that were less likely to be mated with, especially the males, would form gangs. And then those gangs would go around and beat up. And the ones that would get beat up are the prettiest ones, the ones that would sit there and preen all day. But sexual interaction decreased. And you had less kids. And eventually the whole culture, the whole petri dish of a culture died. when we see the pursuit of happiness, the pursuit of self-actualization, what happens to a culture?
It disintegrates, and it the way that you ended that there is exactly right. It ultimately ends up in death, be it the death of the culture, be it the death of a lineage. We talk about this in our Bible studies, the importance of lineage. Elon Musk even knows the importance of birthright.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is not a Christian by any stretch. He's not going to profess that. But he understands the purpose and the importance of birthright. Look, when we talk about self-aggrandizement, when we talk about satisfaction and happiness and everything, I think about the verses. The eye is never satisfied.
Mm-hmm.
And when we pursue things for our own pleasure, we are going to come to a point where it ends in death. The death of whatever it might be. It might be a physical death. There are people, we can make this case, there are people that end up dead due to drugs because of their insatiable desire to have another high. There are people that end up dead because of their insatiable desire to have another drink. There are people that end up dead because they have an insatiable desire for sex. That, folks, these are not stretches. These are not, that's not hyperbole. That's fact. And self-satisfaction is only going to lead you to a place of absolute and unequivocal emptiness. That's where it leaves you.
And we're going to make that case a lot stronger with some case studies in just a moment of much higher profile figures who've been going through that. But before we do, I still want to get to Steve, because we've already kind of talked about the chair of politics a little bit in this. And Mr. Charlie, you kind of delved into the chair of politics for a moment there. When we see the culture start to accept this garbage and we see the decay, what is the political body, the government, going to try to do? We're going to implement policies. But the problem is these policies don't deal with the root problem. Where do these policies always land us?
Well, they always end up landing you and creating more policies to try to fix something that can't be fixed. Okay? Because what they try to do is throw more money after bad money. Just like with, let's say, homelessness or unemployment or fatherlessness. Let's say...
how about gun control?
Gun control is an excellent point. Or how about with not just gun control, or what they say, controlling violence? Well, how do they want to do that? By controlling guns.
I would take it a step further.
Instead of saying gun control, why don't you say criminal control?
And
total control.
And even further, they're going to go after your free speech.
Yeah.
That's what Mr. Charlie was saying a moment ago. They're going to attack your ability to speak freely in public. If you don't know someone, you need to sign a consent form or have an app and a QR code saying, I consented to this conversation and solicitation.
Right. And if people haven't realized, it's not about controlling the criminals, it's about controlling the law-abiding people.
Yeah.
Because if you can take your guns away from the law-abiding people, then you can control everybody in society, because then the people cannot rise up against a tyrannical government. And that is the whole idea, because what was the Constitution for? What was the Second Amendment for? To keep a tyrannical government from taking over and to being able to do that sort of thing, to institute policies that are tyrannical. And what do you have? Trying to censor free speech, just like they tried to do with or are doing with all these different social media outlets. Heck, we know Elon Musk took over Twitter, which is now X, for that one whole sole purpose.
Yep.
The whole purpose behind it. And what did he do? He got rid of everybody that worked there.
And he actually, not to elevate him too far here, he might be the last bastion of saving free speech.
Yeah, and we'll see. We definitely want to thank the folks over at Rumble for what they're doing and for all the lawsuits they're going after.
Yeah.
And Musk definitely has not been towing the line as well as Rumble, but we might actually be putting the podcast on X. But one of the things that we've noticed, and Lib's TikTok just came out with this recently, she was looking at all the words that are actually banned for demonetization, and if she found out that her whole channel. Her full channel got demonetized, even though she was never making much money at all on Twitter X. So that's something to be aware of. You know, we as Christians sometimes tend to worship people. We really ought to watch out for that.
Yeah.
But for the chair of economics, just a thought: how has social media incentivized this sort of behavior? And Miss Nikki hit it earlier. What has it done to those who partake in it? And I just want to ask this to you, actually. What does it do to the social media influencer who's out there? They've embraced this ideology. How does it devalue them and reduce them?
Oh, well, they're probably compromising a lot of things they would not do normally. But they know they have to get the views, they have to get the people, so they have to cross the line.
Correct.
And so they're willing to do that so they can have, quote unquote, the fame, the followers, and maybe the money that follows.
And that's huge. And so I actually had it in the show map, but I forgot to open it up for Ryan. So I'm sorry, Rai. There was a clip I wanted to show. I'll just mention it. If y'all have heard of the NPC Ticktockers, I don't know if y'all have heard of that. That's where people live stream in front of a camera, and whatever someone sends, they react to as though they're a robot. And I think it's like the perfect distillation of the dehumanization of people. And that's I think we should actually do a podcast on that coming up. We're hoping on doing one or two on the church, and we'll talk about that. But the dehumanization of the individual, I think, is significant.
And dehumanize ourselves and have people call in? Is that what you're saying?
We've what?
And dehumanize ourselves and have people call in and do dehumanization.
Yeah, well, that's what they do, but we're not going to do that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay. No.
He was making my whole head sweat.
So
there,
let's move on to some Alex Jones type stuff. Okay, so we're going to move into the rich elite, people like Sam Smith, Doja Cat, and Katy Perry. So I actually want you to pull up the first. So next in line on the YouTube clips, Ryan.
Really getting yourself dirty, aren't you?
Doja Cat is a really interesting case study. And so I believe this is the clip from Brett Cooper. If you can go ahead and get that ready, Mr. Producer, please. Where she's breaking it down. She did a really good job breaking down. Oh, before we do, pull that one up. And make sure you scroll down. You're going to find nope. It's going to be not that one either, bud. It's going to keep going down. Keep going down. You're going to find it. YouTube short capture. There you go. There you go. Should be. Now, go ahead and roll that for us. Yeah, so this is Doja Cat. Before we get to Brett Cooper, go ahead.
Doja Cat has made a name for herself as a fashion force to be reckoned with. From e-girl tutorials to camp music video looks to iconic Mugler couture, the rapper quickly became a household name for her controversial fashion choices. In the music video for her brand new single, Demons, Doja can be seen covered in midnight blue body paint with spiked prosthetics covering her spine, ears, and head to resemble a demon. Doja spices it up with Diamonds by Gabriel Jacobs and Grills by Gabby Elin Jewelry. However, not everybody was impressed, with some fans calling Doja's attempts at a demonic rebirth very unsettling, claiming that this is what happens when you get rid of your actual fans and only the trolls are left following you. Others support the star, claiming this is how you bring something different to the table. Lately, Doja Cat's actions have raised eyebrows, admonishing her fans. From her eccentric transformation, erratic online behavior, to the debut of her new persona, Scarlet. Doja first starting rocking a darker style when she was spotted on the Balenciaga with a painted-on busted lip and black eye. Doja Cat has made a name for herself as a fashion force.
So that's on a loop. Go ahead and get the Brett Cooper one up because I think she says something very well, and I want us to go ahead and pull that together. She'll tie it off very well because she has a bunch of fan notes. You're going to have to go YouTube regular capture, but
that's not something different. That's something sick.
It was something that's old. It's very old, but again, go ahead and pull this. So this is the Daily Wire's Brett Cooper, and I think it's a really good take here, and she's got a bunch of notes. So go ahead and run it.
This type of situation or behavior or encourage her to continue down this path. It is obviously taking a negative toll on her. Like, I keep seeing clips from her live streams where she looks pretty unwell and very unhappy, and she's constantly being defensive about her whole new look and her lifestyle. Like, watch this one.
I feel like I'm in fucking elementary school and people are like, oh, did you sell your phone yet? And then they run away. Someone goes, oh my God, this isn't Doja no more or some shit. What the did that bitch say? Bro, this isn't Doja no more. No, it's not.
She has a second personality she calls Scarlet. Let that sink for a moment.
Stupid ass bitch.
The whole thing is just creepy. Like, she goes on these live streams and she's just cussing out her fans. They're asking her questions, I think, out of genuine concern because she seems so different and very unstable. And she's just yelling at them and telling them to f*** off. Somebody commented and said, the eyes always change to emptiness. Somebody else said, it's not just her looks that are so different. Her personality and energy is dark and negative now, but maybe she's just had enough of it all, I'm sure. Somebody else said, she used to be so energetic, bro, now she's just like dull. Imagine telling the old Doja Cat, who was filming her own homemade music videos in her bedroom, who was so peppy and bright and funny, looking like she was having so much fun doing what she loved. Imagine telling that girl that one day she would be cussing out her entire fan base with no hair and no eyebrows, singing about the devil.
I just think things and I just
That's
do
enough.
them. You mean...
So, okay. What you're watching there is someone who the music video industry and the music industry in general has absolutely taken from the hood, not from a good place, but they've taken her from the hood and they've absolutely transformed her. Like, in a physical sense, her body has been, changed by her livelihood or lifestyle and livelihood. Go ahead and go to the next one. I want you to pull up this one of Katy Perry. This is one that Miss Nikki provided. And this is a very similar story, although maybe not quite as aggressive. Go ahead and pull it all the way to the beginning. And we're going to pull it right to there. Yeah, where it was. Go ahead and play this.
That's how I got introduced to the music industry, is through gospel music. And then it didn't work out. Like, it was quite a little blip on the radar. I think the label went bankrupt or what have you. And because I swear I wanted to be like the Amy Grant of music. Yeah. But it didn't work out. And so I sold my soul to the devil.
Yes, you heard that correct.
So again, links in the description below for all these videos. But what toll has that had on her health? Last clip for now. Last clip for now, Mr. Producer. Because something like this always does take a toll.
I want to be Catherine Hudson, that I don't even want to look like Katy Perry anymore sometimes.
Okay.
And that is a little bit of why I cut my hair, is because I really want to be my authentic self,
yes.
100%. And so it hurts, when I don't feel like I can.
Did you ever have some bouts to where Katie just didn't want to go on?
Yeah, I wrote a song about it.
Okay.
That's what I guess I do. That's how I process, is I write songs.
And you get rid of those feelings, those uncomfortable feelings.
Some of them.
No, you don't.
Some of them don't come out fully, and that's why I still do the work.
Which song was that? What lyric comes to your mind?
By the grace of God.
Okay.
Think on that for a minute.
They're very close to you. Yeah. They're very close. heartfelt?
It's hard, like I say, get on tour.
Okay.
And it's hard because I'm ashamed.
Oh.
Because, of course, Katy Perry's so strong.
I'm talking to Catherine. She's sitting back.
But it's hard because I feel ashamed that I would even like have those thoughts, you know? And
Yeah, go ahead. So I want to break all of that down because there's a lot of thoughts there to be had. I want to start with Miss Nikki. Just thoughts about Doja and about Katy.
You know, I'm gonna quote this verse in Proverbs 25:28. He that have no rule over his own spirit is like a city that is broken down and without walls. Self-indulgence is, if you want to know what that means, a city that is broken down with no walls means that you have no defense, you have no protection. And so you have these young women who are out there and they are, when she said she sold herself to the devil, she wanted a music career. There's more to that. She really did. She really did go to a witch and ask for help. And so there's a price to pay. Just like when you give your all to the Lord, there's a price to pay. But it ends up being a very rewarding thing. When you give yourself to self-indulgence like that, it never satisfied. It never brings peace, and it never brings you soundness in your life.
Yeah, and that's something that I think we really miss out on, and I'm going to talk about this in just a moment, but there's a counterfeit that Satan offers, and it looks really good right now. But that's something that we really need to watch out for because there's a real value there. I want to talk about that in a moment. But Mr. Charlie.
I think that's exactly what Katy Perry did. She bought a counterfeit. I think she has genuine, this is my own opinion. I believe that she's got regret about the path that she chose.
Yeah, no kidding.
And I ache for people like that. The thing is, she had a great upbringing. I'm not going to say it was perfect, please. But the thing is, she knew enough. She knew better.
Yeah.
And she wanted something more than anything else in the world. And by the way, that's the beauty of the verse. I believe it's Mark chapter 12, verse 30. Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, with all thy mind, with all thy strength. And she chose to love something way more than God. And she is paid an incredible price for it. And I think where she sits now is she doesn't see a way out. There is a way out. She just doesn't think there's a way out because she's bought into the lie that Satan has told her there is no way out. And I don't agree with that at all.
Agreed. Steve, thoughts on just in general with everything that we just were subjected to?
Well, I think Doja Cat needs to be probably locked up in an asylum because she looks like she's kind of hanging out there on the far end of a limb someplace.
Pause for a moment. Pause for a moment. Do y'all remember? Is everyone in here old enough to remember when one Britney Spears was put into a conservatorship because she shaved her eyebrows and her head? Keep going.
Yeah. And then other gal here, apparently she did sell her soul. She's not happy with herself. And I think the guy could have been talking to her with a little bit different voice and just talk to her normally instead of, oh, hey, well,
Well, hey, he's gay. Everyone lives there. I'm kidding. I don't know. I don't know.
Who knows if he is or not, but he could at least talk to her normal and
But he's not there really for her well-being.
No, he's not.
He's not. He's there for,
if he's a
trying
therapist,
to get whatever.
He's there for money.
Yeah, exactly.
If he's a therapist, he's there for money. And a lot of therapists,
here's
not all.
something I wanted to say about both of those, and it's Ephesians 5:13. But all things that are exposed are made manifest by light. For whatever makes manifest is light. So, you know, if you're hiding in the dark, the light's going to expose you.
Yeah.
And, you know, apparently one of them has realized that she was hiding in the light or hiding in the dark, and the light's starting to expose her. The other one, she's still trying to hide.
Yeah.
Doja Cat, you know, and both of them are in the same boat in terms of that's not where they started. They didn't get there overnight.
Correct. It was a work there. It was a pursuit of happiness without God.
Yes.
And that's the thing. It's like we're not, Christians aren't killjoys by nature, maybe by human failing, but the Bible is not a killjoy. God is not a killjoy. God wants you to have the greatest riches and abundance of not wealth, but of Him and of the relationship with Him. And that's what literally you were created for. So that is the thing that will give you the most fulfillment. And when we say don't do that, it's not because A, it's not, we didn't say it, God said so, not us, but B, God said so because it was for your benefit. Well, and these folks are finding out the hard way.
You know, when you're living in
that God said it for a reason,
sin, and you don't want to see it, and then someone shows it to you, you're like going, well, don't kill my joy. You're being a killjoy because you're showing me all of this sin. I'm not living in sin because I'm a good person and I do good stuff. I gave that homeless guy down the street that I saw a couple of days ago, I gave him $20, so I'm a good person.
Yeah.
Well,
I did hear it spoke the other day. I was listening to a podcast, and the gentleman on there was saying, you know, this is really the first time in history, no matter where you're at, that there was some sort of deity or some sort of higher power that you were that you look to, okay? This is the first time that you are worshiping yourself. Now, I'm not saying there wasn't people in the past who worshiped themselves. He's talking about a culture. Yes, yes, where it's promoted to worship yourself. And he said what that is doing, and he was talking about social media, he said that is bringing on great anxiety and depression and discouragement.
I would agree with that.
So I actually disagree with that, and I think that's a very limited view. And here's why I say that. Every society that has gotten to where we are fell very quickly because there wasn't the amount of peace and there wasn't the technological advancement of mutually assured destruction. We're in a unique place where we've had peace that's been put in by 2,000 years of Western Christianity. And now that we have finally had 100 or so years, 150 years of secular humanism, we're 2,000 years of Christianity brought us to the point where we had the most peace, the most prosperity, the most wealth, and 150 years of secular humanism is about twice what most civilizations had in this zone where they self-worshipped. We don't have a lot of record of it because it wasn't that long before the barbarians, so-called, or before the Romans, or before the Babylonians came in and wiped people out. Because once you get to this place, there's a value. I was telling Mr. Charlie earlier today. There's a lost virtue in Stoicism, and I'm not saying Stoicism for Stoicism's sake, but I'm saying that there's a virtue in being quiet, and focused, and driven. There's something that is valuable there. Instead of and women, stop saying you want men to be emotionally accessible. You don't. You want your man to be a man. You don't want a man sobbing on your shoulder.
Amen.
You want a man who is that's what your girlfriends are for. You want a man to be something that is a rock and is a hard worker. He's a provider. And when it comes down to it, he can hold his emotions.
You know, I appreciate you saying that because it reinforces something. One of the things that Nikki has always said to me, I always appreciate that you're steady. And what she's talking about, what she's talking about is emotionally, Charlie does not ride roller coasters. I won't do it. I'm not going to go in the super highs and go down into the super lows. Yeah. It is rare for me to get super high or super low. And what she's saying is, I have the tendency to want to do those things, and you steady me out. I appreciate you bringing that up, because a lot of people don't see men as being that, and not all men are necessarily that.
But here's the thing.
That's what a woman wants.
But you also need that for a society to function. You need most of the men to be the one who goes to war and will die if necessary for his family.
Well said.
And when you don't have that, and so that's the only reason why I politely disagree with that gentleman who said that, is because the societies that allowed that to happen washed away like toothpicks.
Absolutely.
Toothpicks in a avalanche.
Here's an interesting statistic, and this was in 2017. Okay, 68% of U.S. adults use Facebook. 32% of teenagers say Instagram is the most important social network. But on average, users spend about 2 hours a day on any social media site.
Yep. And a lot of it comes down to instant gratification and self-actualization.
Yeah.
And so I want to kind of bring it all home here, and I want to kind of tidy it all up, because we started off with what do these things have in common? Mm-hmm. And I asked the question earlier, does the pursuit of happiness inevitably lead to death? Well, and to despair. Well, we've seen something of that, where we've seen some evidence of that, but correlation and causation are two different things. So I want to start with the chair of economics, and I want to open this up to everyone here. I want to ask this question. After our value has been robbed from us, the value of it being made in the image of God and has a life purpose, a drive, somewhere to go in life, a telos, this thing that God has made for you, is this life that you can take. Once that's been robbed and exchanged for a counterfeit, what becomes of us? What becomes of us? And I know that's a leading question, but if you have anything to add, feel free. Otherwise, I'm going to go to Steve.
Whoa. I figured you'd come to me first.
So I'm going to go to Steve.
Scratch my bald head here.
When the culture has become godless, how does the government become a hindrance to godliness?
Well, in one way, you end up, what they have a tendency to do is try to manage things on their own. Like with social media. Hey, what we're going to do is we're going to go on with these social media sites, and we're going to have the prime news talk about and say, cut people off.
Regulate.
For instance, okay, ever seen some of these shows, or like on the news, football player, they're interviewing him, he starts to say, well, and they'll go, well, what do you contribute all of this good fame and fortune to? And he'll start talking about a few things, and then he'll say, one of my major things is that, I contribute to the fact that, I surrendered myself to God, and God has been really good. Chink! Oh, look, we just lost the feed to this. Oh, I'm so sorry. We don't know what happened.
Let's go a step further, because what just happened in France and the UK Parliament with regulation of social media, and this is really where they go. I don't know if you heard about this, y'all, but Rumble was just requested by Parliament to take the Tate brothers, Jordan Peterson, and a few other people off of their platform.
Yes.
And so they've come. So in France has banned Rumble, the UK Parliament is now coming out and making this request of Rumble, saying, "Are so and so, so and so, and so and so, Google, Alphabet rather, Apple, and all these other people have banned these folks. Are you going to do the same?" And that's not a question. That's a threat.
It's an expectation.
Yes.
So what we're going to see is more and more. If we don't step in, lock in, and engage with our culture and our politics, we're going to start to lose the ability to speak.
One perfect example is our podcast on
YouTube.
Here on
YouTube. On YouTube. Yeah.
I mean,
case in point.
Views constantly wiped. I've seen some of them where they were up in 1,500. Poof! All of a sudden, it's like 200.
Yeah, right out the gate. So
I've seen it. Look at it an hour later, and you're down to 200 views.
Yep.
What the heck? I'll type up to John Arthur. That's John Arthur. What happened to our views, man?
They got deleted, and that happens. Moving over to Mr. Charlie, I want to ask you, sir. Once the culture has embraced this behavior, we talked about this earlier to an extent, but we're going to see the normalization of this. Again, where should we as Christians come in when the culture has embraced this behavior and they're trying to make it normal? Where should we as Christians come in and intersect with culture? Engage.
We absolutely need to make sure that we're engaging from a biblical perspective. We need to be ready to defend the faith when we talk about it and make a compelling case of why should I act like a Christian? Why should I be a Christian? But why should I act like one? When the Bible has so much to say, especially in the book of Proverbs, regarding this issue of self-centeredness. I'm going to call it self-centeredness. That really is that was the downfall of Satan there. Satan, the one who was Lucifer, if you will, that was a minister of music, if you will, in heaven. I'm going to be like God. Well, no, sorry. You're done. That is what man is doing. I'm going to be like God. When you look at all that's being done today in the self-aggrandizement world, for what purpose? It's for the issue of making money. It's to get my own happiness. When you look at Katy Perry, do you know how many people have probably looked at that interview, that clip? Not near the people that have been watching TMZ and all of those channels promote Katy Perry like crazy. They don't understand the darkness that's on her backside. How many understand where Doja Cat is? Not many. Why? Because that's not what makes money for those that put that kind of media out. They're not going to do that. Folks, what looks good? This is stuff that we've seen in the TV world for a while. Why did they make such a case about drinking on TV? Why was smoking banned in TV?
It wasn't banned, but
there was a strong...
There was a time
there was
where they didn't want it on.
They didn't want it on there. Why is that? Because our culture needs to engage in why. We need to be able to defend. And if we do not break the cycle, that is the end.
Indeed it is. So now for the chair philosophy, and I'll open this up to y'all. If our value is in Christ, then how would Satan go about enticing us to exchange our inheritance for Satan's counterfeit?
Well, the same way he did back in the garden is he's challenging and using the flesh, the desires of the flesh, to attract you to a lifestyle that he can promise you. What did Satan say to Jesus? If you worship me, I'll give you all of this stuff. So
that was the same play
And it's a weak one.
It's a weak one.
But the thing is, you got to remember, Jesus Christ had just spent 40 days in the wilderness.
He was, yes.
Not eating, just drinking out of I assume some sort of spring.
And what did he say to Eve? You could be just like God. So let's just share this part here. Jeremiah 17:9, the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? A lot of people said, let me follow my heart. That's in my heart. That's in my heart.
I think those are some of the worst words we could ever speak to somebody.
Yeah.
And all men did what was right
in their own eyes.
That's right.
And not having a moral compass will lead you astray. That Doja Cat, she's probably on the brink of a mental breakdown.
If she hasn't already.
If she hasn't already. And the road back may be a long one for her. Katy Perry, depression is, some people fight depression their whole life. And she's made some horrendous choices, and I feel bad for her. That may be her story. I've heard many people who have come out of Satanism. When the devil's done with you and you're no longer profitable, he just leaves you on the side of the road.
You're treated like trash.
Yeah, Satan just leaves you on the side of the road. He's not going to come around. I'm done.
You don't care about it.
And that's the difference between the two masters.
Yes.
And that's something that I think people really miss out on. Just, in the chair of philosophy, dealing with this question, people don't realize is you are trading the good father for the selfish, lying taskmaster who does not desire your well-being. And whenever you sin, every sin is born out of a good innate desire that has a perverted expression.
Yep.
And that is something, and so the pursuit of happiness, if it is not tethered to God, you run the risk of, you don't run the risk, you are assured that you will not find joy, and any happiness that you find will be fleeting. And to define those two, you will lose your joy, your well-being, and your consistency and your ability to go through life in the ups and downs and be at peace, a peace that is contentment at minimum, happiness at the best. Yeah. And your happiness will be dependent, your momentary emotional excitement will be dependent upon the day. And that is a fate that is a hell on earth. Yeah. When you are in the life of Katy Perry or Doja Cat. That is the shot in the gut in the food court in some mall, and the ride to the hospital, and everything in between and everything underneath. Not a place I want to be. Miss Nikki, going up to the chair of theology here, we kind of switch things up today. What are the lies that have led these people to believe that they, what are the lies that these people are believing that have led themselves to sell themselves for less than their worth? And what does God say about the pursuit of happiness?
Satan always has a line that tells you it's self-exalting. And everybody's really attracted to a self-exalting lifestyle. Yeah, a message. Yeah. Popularity, fame, wealth, those are the things that he promises. And our flesh is very much attracted to that. So it's sad, but it doesn't satisfy. And the winners of the lottery, 85% of them will end up in bankruptcy. It doesn't satisfy. It doesn't bring what they think it's going to bring. And, did you want me to finish up here with this?
I do.
Okay. So we're going to run over to Ecclesiastes, and this is Solomon, who is the wisest man that ever lived. And I believe he was probably the richest man that ever lived. And it's called The Vanity of Self-Indulgence. And we're going to start with Ecclesiastes 2, 1 through 11. And this is Solomon speaking. I said in my heart, go to now, I will prove thee with myrrh, therefore enjoy pleasure. And behold, this is also vanity. I said of laughter, it is mad, and of myrrh, what doeth it? I sought in my heart to give myself unto wine, yet acquainting my heart with wisdom and to lay hold on folly, till I might see what was the good for the sons of men, which they should do under the sun all the days of their life. I made great works. I builded me houses. I planted me vineyards. I made gardens and orchards. I planted trees in them, all kind of fruit. I made me pools of water, to water therewith the wood that bringeth forth trees. I got me servants and maidens, and had servants born in my house. Also I had great possessions of great and small cattle above all that were in Jerusalem before me. I gathered me also silver and gold and peculiar treasure of kings of the provinces. I got me men singers and women singers, and the delights of the sons of men, as musical instruments, and that of all sorts. So I was great, and increased more than all that were before me in Jerusalem. Also my wisdom remained with me. And whatsoever my eyes desired, I kept not from them. I withheld not my heart from any joy. For my heart rejoiced in all my labor, and this was my portion of my labor. Then I looked on all the works that my hands had wrought, and on the labor that I have labored to do. And behold, all was vanity and vexation of spirit, and there was no profit under the sun. And he goes on to say in Ecclesiastes 12 and 13, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God, keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of men. For God shall bring every work into judgment, and every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil.
Wow.
Remember,
Interesting.
give the glory to God.
Amen.
Focus on the one who can save your soul. Love the one who can save your soul and has offered to do so. Make sure that you follow him today, and your happiness will come. And it'll come from joy, not from the immediate desire. If you like this podcast, like, comment, share, subscribe. Thank you so much. You can find us anywhere where podcasts are delivered. Miss Nikki today is like, did you know that we're on Spotify? I'm like, yes, I know that we're on Spotify. We are on Spotify. I haven't said that, but yes, actually, Mr. Producer for a while was listening to us on Spotify before he started working the producer's chair. Yeah, he's maniacally twitching his chin for some reason, but yes. With that said, yeah, Ryan, we're gonna say it if you're doing something funny over there. It's too much. So, YouTube, thank you for letting us know that we're right over the target. You guys are doing your weird thing. Rumble, thank you for providing that free speech space. And let us know in the comment section. We might be going on to X. I don't know if I don't know. We'll see if we can. If we can reach anyone over there, if we do any value there. Over 200,000 downloads of the audio. Thank you guys. Thank you for downloading the podcast. Like, share, all that good stuff. With that said, we love you. Have a wonderful week, beloved. We have nothing else for you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, if you're still here, we do have one more thing for you. I'm sorry.
All right.
With that said, going around the room, what is your favorite and least favorite social media trend? What's your favorite and your least favorite?
The only social media trend that I'm really interact with is Facebook. I'm not on Twitter. I don't do Instagram.
So what's your favorite thing about Facebook and your least favorite, in a word?
Well, I don't post on Facebook, but I like to keep up with family. So when I'm scrolling through Facebook, I'm looking to see who's having a baby, who's getting married, what's happening, is somebody sick, is somebody passed away, is somebody been born, that kind of stuff. So I have family members.
See you posting all the time on there.
I don't post. I tell you what, during the last election, that's when I stopped. I realized that was just not going to be a place to have.
Yeah, it's not profitable.
No.
Mr. Charlie, what's your favorite trend and your least favorite trend?
Least favorite is probably the stuff that we talked about today.
The pranksters.
Yeah, that is.
Which one rubbed you the worst? The homoerotic quote, the spitting through the pipe, or the walking through people's houses?
To me, it's all lumped into one.
Okay.
Because it literally it is only for the purpose of grabbing eyes and getting money.
What's your favorite, or if you have one?
Favorite is probably I don't like any specific platform. I do like seeing the good things that people are doing.
Mr. Steve.
Yeah, I'd say my least favorite are these prankster things, and especially the ones that just where folks just walk into someone's house and try to do whatever. And
scary stuff.
That's kind of scary. People like that.
Don't come into my house uninvited. If I welcome you, come into my house. If I don't.
But if man.
There will be repercussions.
Don't even walk up to me in the store.
Probably not in a good way.
What's your favorite trend?
My favorite, I would say, are probably some of these 2A type of things that I like hearing on what's going on, what's happening. These guys
Gun
that stand
ASMR.
up for your two amendment rights, let you know what's happening, and some of the new things that are out there that I like to hear about, and kind of keep up on. So
very good. So my least favorite, personally, is actually cancel culture. So where someone comes in and says, "Hey," so there was in the news story we didn't have a chance to cover it, and we might circle back and look at it.
Circle back around.
Yeah, circle back. That's a callback to Psaki. Jen Psaki. Yeah. Anyway, this one LA Dodgers pitcher who was accused of sexual assault, and then he had the evidence, some of it the whole time, and then more evidence, exculpatory evidence was given during discovery during his lawsuit back to her. And he was able to prove, it's like, yeah, she was in bed with me that morning, very happy. I didn't beat her up the night before. She had no scar before and beat up. And then he has all the text message of her saying, I'm going to take everything that he has. I'm going to walk away with his money. And he still can't play for any Major League Baseball. He worked all of his life. He can't do it in America. He's in Japan now. He's literally basically expatriated. He's left the country so that he could go somewhere where the cancel culture won't get to him because the Japanese are into all sorts of weird stuff. Okay. But it's not that weird over there. I'm kidding. But he had to move because of cancel culture. So cancel culture there. That's just favorite trend. I literally had it in my mind a moment ago, but I will say I forgot. The 2A is really good. Honestly, some of those happy feel-good videos that go around, some of the really stupid, sappy ones,
like dolphins singing and stuff.
You know what? I'm a sucker for the cat and dog videos.
Oh wow!
I'm a sucker for those. I see those. I scroll. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna watch that. It's funny. Especially when the dog's doing something really stupid.
How dare you?
Okay. And what's your favorite, Mr. Producer?
Cat and dogs.
Cat and dogs. Yeah, he likes cats and dogs. So
I love dogs, but I'm not into the.
You gotta have a good cat. Let us know in the comment section down below what your favorite social media trend and what your least favorite is, and looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much. Love you.
Bye.
Bye for real.
Bye.